Freehanding is terrifying, but awesome. This video is about painting the freehand on the shield of Ares, which was my submission for the Brush Beast miniature painting competition. Stick around for the full 5 minutes and I'll show you the process in real time. Welcome to Rising 8 Minis. Full disclosure, this is only my second time painting freehand, so while I'm no means an expert at this, I think it's really important to try new things, to push yourself. Worst case scenario, it'll all go horribly wrong and you'll have to repaint it. But that's not a disaster, it's just paint on plastic, and it's certainly not worth getting too worried about. That being said, I still found this process pretty worrying. There were several moments where I thought I've completely stuffed this up, but I stuck with it and ploughed through, and at the end of the day I'm absolutely thrilled with the result. Is it perfect? No. Am I happy? Yes, and that's the point. So come with me, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's get into it. First step was finding my reference image. You can see the one up in the top right hand corner, that's the one I'm using. I'll use that all the way through the video and constantly refer back to it. The second step was to mark it out with a pencil. I just used a normal hard pencil like a 2H to mark out the shape, and then after that I selected my colour. This can be any old dark brown colour. The point is you don't want to be able to see it when you're painting over the top, and then I used that to sketch out the base of my shape. This is a really important first step. The idea is we're just going to make our shape, but it doesn't matter if you go slightly wrong here because end of the day you can't really see it. Next up, I then move up to a slightly lighter colour after looking at my reference image once again. And all I'm doing is add a little bit of Chimera warm yellow into that brown mix. Again, we're not trying to set the world on fire, we're not trying to add highlights or anything like that in, we're just trying to build it up and add a decent sort of base down for our shape, which just allows me to get a bit of confidence with the freehand in. And yeah, at this point I start to go, alright, yeah, that's the shape I want. I can start really building it up now. I'm being very careful using thin down paint and small brush strokes. Again, look at my reference image again and look at where all the highlights and the shadows are. If you don't know what you're doing with NMM, one of the things I would definitely try and do is just use a reference image and then just try and copy that. It's a really good way of practicing. So again, I level up and add a little bit more yellow to that mix, and I start placing in those midtones and start looking at where I'm going to put the highlights and the shadows and start building up those colour tones. I just wanted to say that in this video I used two brushes. I used my Raphael 8404, which is a size 2, and my ProArte spotter, simply because it's got a better tip than my Raphael because it's getting a bit battered these days. Links are all down in the description below. Again, referencing that image, constantly looking forwards and backwards. I've got this on my other screen open all the time. And now I start adding in some highlights. So all I've done is take my warm yellow and added some Chimera cold yellow to that. But don't get too hung up about the colours here. You just want to, you can find colours that roughly match these tones and just use those. As long as you're consistent across the thing, you'll end up with something that looks decent. Go back to our brown mix and build up into those shadows. Now what we're doing here is glazing. So we're glazing from the higher areas over the transition point back into those shadows, and what that does is it smooths out the two transitions. So we start to end up with something that looks close to what we want, but we want to add in some midtones. Midtones are really easy to lose as you move between highlights and shadows. So what I've found has worked really well across the rest of this model is to use Cassandora Yellow. Now Cassandora Yellow is a Citadel shade, and I use that thinned down, basically 50-50 with just water, and just adding that in. But I'm adding the shade in over the top of everywhere that's yellow, not particularly over anywhere that's brown. Then I go back in and I'm starting to do something called edge highlighting here. It's not really edge highlighting because there aren't really any hard edges, so what I'm trying to do is put fine lines over the edges just to give that impression that there is an edge that would be picking up the lights. So I'm going over those using a thinned down Chimera cold yellow and white mix, and we're just working backwards and forwards. Then the last stage of this was to use Cassandora Yellow and just Anywhere that edge highlight hit a bit of shadow, I just went over that just to break it up a little bit, make it lose a little bit. So I'm really pleased with the way this turned out. I'd never done freehanding before. I was absolutely terrified going into it. I'm absolutely thrilled to bits that I actually achieved it. And yeah, I'm pleased with the whole model too. This is the whole model reveal, so I'll go over the final steps of how I completed the model in future videos which will be coming out, so make sure you stay tuned to check those out. But yeah, this is Aries. Hope you like him. So there it is. If you've enjoyed this video, this model is called Aries by Pegaso Models, which I bought from El Greco Miniatures. The links are on the description below. I have a whole video about the painting of this model, which I've spent well over 100 hours painting. There are still a couple of videos to come out in this series, and they'll be released over the next couple of months, so stay tuned for those. But the videos that have already been released will be popping up on the end screens. Check them out. Don't forget to, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, try to be that place where the fallen angel meets the rising ape. See you later.